Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, the term AI agent is pretty much everywhere these days, right? But what does it actually mean to build one? Today, we're going to break down the core principles, and it's really all about a huge shift in how we think about AI. So let's just jump right in.
All right, let's dive right in. Probably the best way to get your head around an AI agent is to just stop thinking of it like a chatbot. A contractor you hire for one single task. Instead, I want you to start thinking of it like a full-time AI employee, someone you hire for an ongoing role, someone with real responsibilities. And look, thinking of an agent as an employee, it's not just some clever analogy. It is the key to understanding why these things are so much more powerful than the chatbots we've gotten used to.
So what exactly is an agent, on a technical level? Well, it's basically this intelligent layer that's built on top of a large language model, an LLM. And here's the difference. A chatbot does a simple one-shot task. An agent, though, it's built for a real back and forth. It can actually remember what you're talking about, use other software tools, and even write and run its own code to get a job done. Wild, right?
And this is where it gets really, really interesting. This AI employee isn't just, blindly following a script. It has autonomy. And that means it can make its own choices. It can figure out why something failed and then try a different way. It can even take a big goal you give it and break it down into smaller, more manageable steps all by itself. Okay, so let's say you've just hired your very first AI employee. What now? How do you onboard it? How do you set it up for success? Well, it's just like a new person on your team. It needs a good starter kit. And that onboarding process, it really boils down to three essential things. You've got to give it clear instructions, that's the job description. Then you have to give it the right tools to actually do the work. And finally, you have to give it a reliable memory so it can learn and, build on what it's done before.
So, let's tackle that first step, shall we? I mean, an agent can't read your mind. So how in the world do you give it instructions that are actually clear and effective?
Well, the answer is all about prompting. Sure, you could just ask a direct question. That's what we call a zero-shot prompt. But for way better results, you've got to show, not just tell. By giving it one perfect example, that's a single-shot prompt, or even a few of them, the agent starts to pick up on the pattern you want. The more examples you give it, the more precise it gets.
Okay, but here's where it gets really fun. What happens when instructions just aren't enough? I mean, think about it. Just like a human employee, even the best, clearest instructions in the world are totally useless if they don't have the right tools to actually do anything with them.
And here's a perfect real-world example of this from investor Alana Goyle. She wanted to build an agent that could analyze a bunch of book recommendations. Her first try, she just dumped all the raw data on the agent. And it failed, miserably. So what was the solution? She built specific tools for the agent to use, things like a Get Books by Genre tool or a Sort Recommendations by Investor tool. And boom, all of a sudden the agent could reason about the data just like a human analyst would.
All right, so our agent has clear instructions. Check. It's got the right tools. Check. We're almost there. But there's one more crucial piece of the puzzle. Because even the most skilled employee is, let's be honest, pretty useless if they can't remember what you guys talked about 5 minutes ago. And that's exactly why memory is the third and final piece of this whole starter kit. Without it, every single conversation starts from scratch, from zero, and that is just incredibly inefficient. So the solution is to build a memory system that works a lot like our own brains do. You've got short-term memory for what's happening right now. It keeps track of the most recent messages in a chat. But the real magic, the real power comes from long-term memory. This lets the agent search its entire history for relevant context. It's kind of like how we might remember some detail from an old project to help us solve a new problem today.
Okay, great. So our agent is fully onboarded. It's got its instructions, its tools, its memory. Now we can really level up from just simple tasks to tackling complex, multi-step projects.
But, of course, this creates a whole new challenge. That autonomy we loved for simple tasks, well, it can actually be a bit of a problem in a big project. Too much freedom can lead to some unpredictable results, maybe some mistakes. So how do you keep the agent on the rails and make sure it follows a specific plan? The answer is, you give your AI employee a really detailed project plan. And in the world of AI engineering, we call this a graph-based workflow. You can think of it like a flow chart or a decision tree. It guides the agent through a very structured process, telling it exactly what to do and when to do it. So the simplest kind of workflow is just a straight-up linear chain.
The agent does step 1, let's say it's fetching some data. The output from that becomes the input for step 2, analyzing the data, and then that result feeds right into step 3, generating a summary. It's just a clean, simple A to B to C kind of process.
But for more complicated stuff, you can actually branch the workflow. So imagine an agent that's analyzing a medical record. Instead of just checking for symptoms one by one, which would be slow, it can branch out and check for a bunch of different symptoms all at the same time, in parallel. This is obviously way more efficient, and then the agent can just merge all those results back together to get a complete picture.
All right, so now our agent can handle a pretty complex project. We've hit the next logical barrier, right? What happens when a project is just too big, or maybe too specialized for just one single agent to handle all on its own?
Well, you do the same thing you do with people. You build a team. And, as the source materials author Sam Bhagwat points out, designing a system with multiple agents, it starts to feel a whole lot like organizational design. You're literally defining roles, assigning responsibilities, and figuring out how they're all going to communicate with each other.
And this isn't just theory. In fact, a lot of the code generation tools out there in the real world already use this exact model. They don't have one single agent trying to do everything. No, they have a team. So you'll have a planner agent that works with you, the user, to figure out the architecture. It then passes that plan over to a coder agent that actually writes the code. And finally, there's a reviewer agent that runs the code in a safe little sandbox, checks it for errors, and gives feedback.
So you can see how this whole AI employee idea, it just scales up beautifully, doesn't it? We start with one agent, we onboard it with instructions, tools, and a memory. Then we manage its work using these structured plans. And when a project gets too big, we just build a whole team of specialized agents. It's a clear path that leads from a single employee to a team to, well, what's next? It leaves us with this really provocative question. Are we on our way to building entire companies run by AI? Thanks for joining this explainer.